You see our Brian Windhorst is there on the court at TD Garden. And Wendy, perhaps a bit of a surprise that Embiid is playing tonight, especially since the Sixers got the win in Game 1. So what can you tell us went into this decision?
Well, he was actually making really good progress the last few days. He went through a shooting workout on the day of Game 1. Then yesterday, even though the team was off, he came here to TD Garden, went through a more full workout with his personal coach, Drew Hanlon. He succeeded in not having any setbacks after that, took part in the Sixers shoot-around, which just ended a few minutes ago behind me, checked all the boxes, and, is on track, assuming that we don't have any swelling between now and the start of the game, is on track to return. Doc Rivers sounded like he wanted to be conservative, but the man is the MVP, and if he says he's ready to play, they'd like to try to go up 2-0 in this series.
Yeah, as of yesterday when he worked out last night, Doc Rivers said he still considered him doubtful. Quick follow-up on the MVP. Is there anything to him winning the MVP last night, Wendy, and saying, you know what, I'm the MVP of this league. I'm not in any pain. I need to play tonight?
Well, I have to say, Joel believed he should have been the MVP for 3 years running. So I don't think it changed his approach. I think it just verified him. I do think it is an opportunity for him on the day he receives the award to make a statement. But I also think he sees an opportunity here. The opportunity to go up 2-0 would be just a blow to the Celtics. And I think that is a big factor more than anything else besides off the floor.
You mentioned the Celtics. Let's switch gears to them. Sixers got that coveted road split. Sixers need to bounce back. What are you hearing about adjustments they're going to have to make, especially since they watched Harden go off for 45 the other night?
Yeah, they just weren't really ready for the James Harden experience, like circa 2019, the way he played in Game 1. They didn't aggressively double team him, especially late in the game. So obviously they can't play exactly the same when Embiid's on the court, but look for a different approach from the Celtics in terms of the way they handle the screens that the Sixers are setting. And also look for them to try to get Jaylen Brown a little bit more involved late. He only had 3 shots after the first quarter, but they have things to clean up on both ends of the floor, which I would expect that they would do coming into tonight.
Embiid finally wins it. If you had a vote, Tim, would you have voted for Embiid? Why or why not?
Yeah, I think this is the right call. And I think there was an ebb and flow to this award all season. Different guys were the front runners at different times. But I think Joel Embiid sort of grabbed control of this in February at some point. He was the most dominant player in the league for a long stretch, and the team continued to win games during that time. I just don't think there's really any physical matchup for Joel Embiid in this league right now. That's how dominant he has become offensively. And I also think his impact on the defensive end of the floor separated him this year from Nikola Jokic, because I think they were the two guys I looked at down the stretch. But Embiid just had a greater impact on that end. So well-deserved. And I'm glad, because now everybody in Philly can stop talking about it, and they can just focus on getting a championship.
By the way, Tim Legler living outside of Philadelphia, so I'm sure that you hear it nonstop there for sure. So now Joel Embiid takes that and the big award and the happiness associated with it into Game 2. News that he's returning, right? At least expected to return tonight. So it's interesting, Tim, because if you're Doc Rivers, you already have Game 1. If nothing else, you have a split, right? Worst case scenario. So do you like this decision, or would it be worth waiting to make sure he's good heading into Game 3 Friday back in Philly?
Well, Sage, here's how I look at it now. If he's going to play and it looks like he's probable, that tells me he's not feeling any pain whatsoever. He's close to 100%, or he's not taking the court. And if he's close to 100% and he says he's not feeling any pain or hesitancy, then you play him because you want to get this game. Because remember, a split is great for the road team in those first two, but the timing of the split is really important. If you win the first game as a road team and the home team wins Game 2, they take all that momentum into Philadelphia. Boston's feeling much better about themselves arriving there. If that road team gets a split and it's the second game they win, man, do they feel good returning home for their first 2 games. So that's why I think Doc Rivers is saying, listen, if he's ready to go and he's not feeling anything, we need to get this game, because one win by the Celtics, even though it's a split at home, changes the way they feel about themselves mentally, because they will have gotten a win with Joel Embiid there. So it's very important that the Sixers try to go up 2-0. A split's a totally different feel.
Yeah, listen, there's risk associated with every decision, right? Obviously, if he's not totally 100%, but there's a risk in the postseason of not playing a guy if he says that he's pain-free enough to be able to go. If you're Joe Mazzulla, if you're the Boston Celtics, what do they have to do tonight, Tim, to even out the series?
Well, first, how about walk out of the locker room onto the floor when you go to warm up and act like this game has a priority to it? They acted the other night like that was an early season, regular season game, and it wasn't against their main rival to get out of the Eastern Conference. I was shocked, really, at the tone that they set early in the game. Now, they played well offensively, but this game lacked all physicality. I mean, the fact that Boston committed only 2 personal fouls in an entire half of a second-round playoff game against your rival in the Eastern Conference tells you all you need to know about their mindset. It just wasn't good enough. They were not ready, up on their toes. Now, I don't know if that was the fallout from Embiid not playing and they just got relaxed. That's fine. That could happen to teams, but not for 48 minutes. At some point, you get into each other during a huddle, voices are raised, you come out with urgency, and you clamp down defensively. They just never did it. And then the second thing, late game execution. Whatever you run late, it needs to go through Jason Tatum, whether he gets the ball as a primary starter or he's a guy that you run action for to create communication on the part of the defense that leads to something else. I didn't understand what they were trying to accomplish late in that game. Really head-scratching moments on a couple of possessions for them where this game got away. So there's a couple things, a lot of room for improvement for the Boston Celtics going forward.
Yeah, it really was shocking to see that lack of energy coming out of the gate at home, especially for a team that knows what it takes. They were at the NBA Finals. They were in it last year against the Warriors, so we'll see.
There are a couple ways to go about that Poole shot. It was far, it was an open look, and there was still time left on the clock. Give me your overall take on that shot from Poole at the end of the game.
Yeah, Matt, listen, makeable and quality are not synonymous, right? They don't mean the same thing. Yeah, it's a makeable shot. I could go out there right now probably and make that shot. It's possible, okay? That doesn't mean it's a quality look or it's the right decision in the moment. There's a lot led into this with this play. A couple things. Right at the beginning when Curry's coming up the floor, Draymond Green and Jordan Poole aren't running. So as a result, they're way behind the play, and by the time Curry crosses half court, gets trapped, the ball gets reversed. Look where Draymond Green is. He's almost at half court, and I think that kind of forced Poole out further on the floor. But still, there was plenty of time. As the ball was in the air to Draymond, Jordan Poole could have closed that gap on the three-point line and made that a 26-foot shot instead of a 31-foot shot.
Right.
So his feet were nailed to the ground. You had an opportunity to slide into that gap. And then if it gets reversed, and people might look at that tape and say, well, then there's going to be a closeout on Jordan Poole because there's a defender in the corner. You're right. And you know what that's going to lead to? One more pass to the corner, and Klay Thompson is standing there naked. So there's a lot of decision-making that goes into that at the time. Bottom line is Jordan Poole did not read that right. And the final part of this, the momentum wasn't there for him to catch it, turn, and shoot it from that distance. Normally when guys are shooting from out there, it's off the dribble going toward the basket, or it's a pass that's thrown directly to them from the post, and they're moving in toward the basketball, so their momentum is going toward the rim. His feet were planted. He caught it, turned, pivoted, and never moved. There was no momentum there, and you could see that's a bad miss. I mean, that ball's not close. It's left from a really good shooter because of the distance and his lack of ability to generate momentum on the shot.
Towards the end of the season, we started IDing AD's play as perhaps hitting a little bit of a roadblock, and the Lakers, they need him to go on a run. What did you make out of him last night in Game 1?
Well, look, Anthony Davis has one of the greatest skill sets any player in this league has ever had his size. There's just no denying that, and the consistency is what we've always looked for, and also injuries have played a huge part in his career. But what he showed last night is what he is capable of when he has the right mindset, the will, the force. He was just too big, too athletic, and too skilled for the Golden State Warriors up front. And he had the right determination and certainty when the game began of how he was going to play. And as great as he was offensively, he was even better defensively. He basically completely negated any ability to get dribble penetration to the rim on the part of the Warriors, or even get a lot of those curl cuts and back cuts that they like to run on you, because Anthony Davis was camped out in that lane ready to erase everything. And it actually became then just a deterrent. Guys weren't even looking to get into the paint for the most of the second half of that game. And when they did, he had a big part in denying them. So he put it all together. There's no other word for it than awesome, because that's all I kept seeing and feeling out of Anthony Davis last night. He is the single biggest determining factor in this series. If he plays like this for most of the series, the Lakers are going to win the series. The Golden State Warriors have to figure out a way to disrupt his rhythm, or hope he doesn't come with that same aggressive mindset in a couple of games to give them a chance.
I'd love your take, particularly on this Knicks offense, which is what you needed to see more of. They got it. What did you see specifically from that unit that fueled them to this Game 2 win?
Well, Sage, no team utilizes zone more than the Miami Heat, but even they have never utilized it to the extent that they did in that game. They played it pretty much the entire time, and Knicks had a hard time figuring out how to collapse it. They finally figured that out in the second half, and they had some possessions that were critical possessions where they collapsed the zone. So you had the ball here going from one side of the floor to the other, and then the dribble penetration is everything. Look at 3 defenders fly to Josh Hart. That means now nobody's going to be able to get back to the opposite corner. Nice screen by Hartenstein, leads to a 3. Here again, get to the corner, to the top, around the horn. Julius Randle occupies 2. One more swing pass. Josh Hart with an open 3, all predicated on ball movement. I like this one the most of all. Just back somebody down to the middle if you're Julius Randle and force the opposite wing into the paint. It's a very unique way to attack the zone, but Julius Randle has the physical strength to do that. He took advantage of it, took it as deep as he could, waiting for somebody to come. When that wing finally came over for the double, it's a very simple straight line pass to the opposite side for another 3. So their execution was much better in the second half. There's still more they can do. Get the ball to the middle of the floor, to short baseline. They're screen the high guy on the zone. They didn't do a lot of that, but they had just enough at key times with great ball movement to get quality shots to get this win.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.